The first round of the 2025 NBA playoffs tips on Saturday, and a 3 versus 6 seed series between the Knicks and Pistons figures to be one of the more exciting opening battles here, maybe in the first round. The Knicks, they risked their future for a chance at a better present. They brought in Karl Anthony Towns. They brought in Mikal Bridges during the offseason. It resulted in a 51-31 record. Good, but an 0-10 record against the top 3 teams in the league. Bad. Meanwhile, the Pistons have already exceeded expectations. They jumped from, 14 wins last year to a 44-38 record, and they played the Knicks exceptionally well this regular season. So here we go on Saturday. Let's break it down, Tass. What's one thing you're watching for in the 3rd-seeded Knicks versus the 6th-seeded Pistons?
Well, I'm going to keep it real simple to start. I just think Game 1 is super important. If the Pistons are going to win this thing, they can go pluck Game 1 from New York, which they won in Madison Square Garden twice this season, just to keep the young vibes going and feeling comfortable in this entire series. That is super important, especially because the Knicks, they have buckled a few times this season against the extremely good teams and against the really good defenses. Only 9-20 against the top 10 defenses this season, which Detroit makes up one of them. Now, I can't decide, is it more important for the Pistons to be able to score or be able to stop this incredible Knicks offense? But I think defensively is the more important thing, because I think Asar Thompson, an extremely young guy, is going to be guarding Jalen Brunson. And in that pick and roll situation with Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, I think they're going to take Jalen Duren off Karl Anthony Towns, put Tobias Harris there just to make sure Karl Anthony Towns doesn't get that pick and pop flowing too hot. And Jalen Brunson is going to have Asar Thompson, an incredible defender, flying all around him. But if Brunson can put him into any sort of foul trouble, this young team may buckle from there. And so that part's extremely important on both those sides of that pick and roll guard. Jalen Duren, you go guard Josh Hart. They're going to let him shoot a ton on that side. And then if the Pistons get flowing on the defensive end, that's where they start running. They're incredible at the fast break points. They're second in fast break points this NBA season. They get into the paint. They're 5th in NBA paint in the paint. I like the point in the paint points. And so if they feel good on the defense, and obviously we'll get to their scoring, that's a problem. But anyway, if they start early with this Knicks team that hasn't handled pressure all that well this season, it buckled a little bit there when it gets to big games. That's the important part for me. Start this series right for the Pistons.
Okay, I'm with you. I think the Pistons are going to win one of these 2 games in Madison Square Garden, because I think we're actually going to have a pretty good series here. So I hear you, be it Game 1 or Game 2. What are you watching for in this one, TK?
It's all about Cade Cunningham. There's a chance for him to make his name really known in the NBA, playing in his first playoff game, which will be in Madison Square Garden. Very similar to Trae Young in 2021. Hit a game winner in his first playoff game in Madison Square Garden. It still gets brought up to this day.
Yeah.
30 points per game, 8 assists per game for Cade against the Knicks this year. Shot 56 from the field, 52 from 3. Shot the ball really well this entire season, was even better the second half of the year. So he's peaking at the exact right time. You got to worry about the bright lights factor, I think, with regards to the Detroit Pistons, because they do have Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder, guys who have playoff experiences. But Cade, Jalen Duren, Beef Stew, Asar, Ron Holland, these guys are all going through their first playoff matchup. It's going to be interesting to see how they keep their heads when Jalen Brunson is grifting free throws. I'm with you. Length kind of bothers Brunson. Like Kelly Oubre did a very solid job against him in their first round series against the Sixers last year. Held Brunson to 43% from the field, 30% from 3. But he also went to the line 10 times a game. That can frustrate a Pistons team, that doesn't think they should be fouling that much. And, how do they maintain their heads going forward? But I think it's going to be fun to watch Cade, most importantly in this one. He's got a game that feels like it's tailor-made for the playoffs, in that he can get inside and finish over the top. So that, to me, has been like Cade's biggest improvement this year, is like he figured out he's strong. So he can go in and shoot some hook shots, can actually score in the lane. That's going to be big for the Pistons, because they might not have enough scoring to keep up with the Knicks, and that's the huge worry here. We're mentioning how bad the Knicks are against the top 3 teams in the league. They're not playing one of the top 3 teams in the league. They've got a better starting 5 than Detroit does. Detroit's probably deeper, but I don't know how much that really matters for the Knicks, because they'll just play their guys 45 minutes.
Yeah, Cade demolished every pick and roll coverage that the Knicks and Tibbs were throwing at him in those regular season matchups. Tibbs loves to have his big, drop back. He loves to do that. And when they did that, Cade was comfortable hitting those threes. Like, he would get that big pick, be it from Jalen Duren, maybe Beef Stew, and he would then like just comfortably step into that shot. And what'd you say, 52% from deep in the series? Like, you can't imagine it's going to remain that high, but he needs to be aggressive. He needs to take that if it's there. And then it'll be interesting to see if they switch up and approach that pick and roll differently. And then
or they
switch
double
on it. Or double it and get it out of his hands.
Yeah, I think that's the important part.
Force it out of Cade's hands and make Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., whatever secondary scorer that the Pistons may or may not have trying to beat you. Yeah, it's probably a good strategy.
Yeah. Do they have a number 2 guy to really help out? That's a fair question with this this Pistons offense.
It's going to have to be Schroeder. Like, Beasley is a good shooter. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a good shooter. They're going to let it fly, no doubt about that. But putting the ball on the floor and actually doing something with it, that's the Dennis Schroeder job more so than their catch and shoot guys. So I think that's a huge ask for him to be the second scorer on this team and to take over when Cade doesn't have the ball, because that's absolutely going to be the plan for the Knicks. They're going to say, somebody else beat us. We'll take our chance with any of these guys. Dennis Schroeder's on his third team this year.
Yeah, they're going to start it by saying, all right, Mikal, OG guard him one-on-one, but Cade has done an incredible job. Just against anybody who guards him, whether it's in transition and then in the post, he'll take care of that. But then they double, and somebody has to do it apart. I mean, they ran the Dennis Schroeder and Jalen Brunson combo. Dennis Schroeder and Cade combo, and it worked at times, but he's coming off the bench. There's got to be somebody who does it in the starting lineup. There's going to be something on Tobias Harris.
Yeah. Okay.
I know there's just not a lot of options. Jalen Duren's going to have some dunk opportunities. He's going to dunk a lot. He'll help, but yeah, that's the problem with the Pistons. Whether or not they have enough scores. Now, they got 3-point shooters that can rain it down, whether it's Tobias Harris or Tim Hardaway, obviously Malik Beasley and Cade Cunningham. Are the Knicks ready to get out to all those shooters? It's just if the Knicks aren't ready to play from the get-go. Again, they did not only against the Cleveland, Boston, OKC. Everybody knows they're 0-10. Not good. But they did flail against good teams in this league at times. And so are they just ready to get out to those shooters? Again, the Knicks, an incredible offense, but they also don't shoot the three all that well. Or they don't shoot the three all that much, I should say. So they're not just going to score more points than you just because they shoot threes. So that's a good thing for this Pistons team if they can score a lot. But that's the biggest question. I mean, can somebody help out Cade?
What's an X factor for either team in this, TK?
The three-point shooting for the Pistons is absolutely the X factor. New York, 24th in makes this season, 27th in attempts, like Tass is saying. They don't bomb away from three. Detroit, not much better, though. 20th in makes, 22nd in attempts, and they've got guys that are so streaky. Tim Hardaway Jr., a career 36% shooter from three. In the playoffs, he's 33%. Beasley, a career 39% three-point shooter. In the playoffs, he's 36%. Had a good series last year, actually, but they need him to be over 40. I think they need both of those guys to be over 40. They need Tobias Harris to be aggressive, and they need Duren to stay out of foul trouble, because when you're like lining up the second scorers, it's like we're talking about Beasley, THJ, and Schroeder versus Karl Anthony Towns.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And most NBA contenders, they do have two guys, or one guy on the floor all the time that's an elite scorer. Like, you look at a lot of rosters. The Knicks have that in Brunson. Like, let's not forget, Brunson was stringing together 40-point games.
Yes.
In last year's postseason. Now he's got the injury and he's coming back, so is he going to be hampered a little bit? Maybe. But you're right, Karl can still do that, 30 or 40 on any given night. So they have two guys. Yeah, the Pistons, after Cade, and if you really force it out of his hands, who makes you pay? Who's the second guy? Who's that secondary scorer? So that's going to be a big question mark. But those guys, you guys said it. I mean, they are streaky as hell. Like, there are games where Beasley, of course, is on fire, or even Tim Hardaway Jr. Maybe even Tobias has got one in them, and they're gonna just have to do it by committee to win the series, right? It feels like, hey, that's the Beasley game. Hey, that's the Tobias Harris out of nowhere game, and maybe piece together 4 of those to take this series. Do you have any other X factors in this? Well,
for sure. I think the Karl Anthony Towns factor is important, but I think that's why they take Jalen Duren off of him and put a guy who can get out to him on the perimeter to take away his three, make him put it on the floor as much as possible, make him post play as much as possible, where he's not as great passer and doesn't have to shoot as many threes. So that's how you take away Karl. It's to get Toby out there as much as possible. Get rid of Karl. And again, they won twice in that building this season, so I think they have some confidence. It's the question. How will they be able to play under those bright lights for the first time for a lot of these guys? And it'll be super duper fun. That being said, they just got to hope also that the Knicks are just ain't rolling all that well offensively. Like Jalen Brunson, hopefully he's still banged up. He looks great, though. I mean, I think he looks totally fine. OG Anunoby is not himself, doesn't seem like either. He's coming back every couple games here the last couple weeks of the season.
He had a really good final 4 to 6 weeks, though.
He was
the best
a monster.
OG had played, yeah.
He was a monster.
And he's going to be on Cade a lot more, too. He saw time from here and there, but it was a lot of Mikal Bridges. McBride, was getting switched on him a lot. OG will get a lot more of that, I think, too, in this series. Yeah.
But then he left with an injury.
Yeah.
He didn't play against the Pistons recently. That being said, I mean, they should have enough guys. So I think Mikal Bridges is his questioning his assertiveness just to help out. Is he going to drive? Is he going to do that type of thing is going to be important. But I think Josh Hart, who was a monster against the 76ers in round 1 last year, I think he was probably the key to them winning. Him bombing away from 3, he'll be allowed to do that in this series. Jalen Duren's going to say, all right, go ahead. Let's see what he can do. And he's freaking great. He's good at so many other things. He's going to probably have another good series. The Knicks just have so many freaking options here.
How many games does it take for us to get a little bit of a brouhaha between these two squads, with the potential of obviously the Pistons play hard, especially we're looking at you, Beef Stew, and then maybe some of those guys on the Knicks? Or do you think this will be a pretty even-keeled series?
Who's the fighter on the Knicks is the question.
Yeah.
I think it's probably Mitchell Robinson. He'll be matched up against Beef Stew a lot since they both come off the bench, both underneath the basket. You saw Mitchell Robinson got involved with Joel Embiid last year with the old grabbing of the ankle down underneath. So probably game 2.
Yeah.
I think the Pistons will try and push the envelope in game 1, and then the Knicks will hit back in game 2.
Yeah. Or you bring off PJ Tucker for 2 minutes to fight.
That's a great point.
Wow. And he had a
That's why they signed him.
And he had a little brouhaha with him when they just played now.
Yeah.
That's what he's there for.
I don't think you want to see PJ Tucker playing too many minutes in the postseason if you're the Knicks, but I hear you. Another X factor I have is just the Knicks taking care of the rock, taking care of the pumpkin. Don't turn it over, because you said it, Tass. Detroit ranks very high in percentage of points coming off fast breaks. And in the one game the Knicks did beat the Pistons, they took care of the ball. I think they had 10 total turnovers. That was it. Those other games they lost, it's 15 plus, right? It's 15 turnovers. It's 18 turnovers. It's 17 turnovers. So that's something to keep an eye on, just how much they take care of the ball, because Detroit wants to score that way. Because we just talked about, they don't really have that secondary go-to guy, so you got to get some of those easy points, and that's with their defense, which has been elite. I'm excited about this one, so let's get into the prediction. Tass, you get us started. Where are you leaning? How many games here for New York, Detroit?
I'm taking the Knicks in 7. I think the Pistons have a lot in them defensively. It feels like a long series to even say the Knicks in 7, but I do think the Pistons are ready to fight, ready to scrap, just defensively. I think they have been on a string for a long time now. I mean, they started the season poorly, but the last 4 months have been awesome for them. So I do think they will be able to guard the Knicks' incredible offensive players and hang with them, especially because, the Knicks don't necessarily rain it down from 3, so this ain't a math thing. That being said, they got too many offensive weapons to lose 4 games to the Pistons, I do think. So that's a lot of respect.
That is a lot of respect for a team that was brutal for 5 seasons. To go to 7 against a team that, coming into the season at least, was considered a championship contender.
Yeah.
They've probably gone down a tier since then, but you got Knicks in 7.
Yep, I'm
Madison
doing it.
Square Garden taking game 7. Where are you going, Trey?
Knicks won 51 games this year. They're a very good team. I think they're going to win this one in 6, and that's me giving the Pistons respect, because I want to pick the Knicks in 5, but the Pistons have been so good the second half of the season. They do play defense. I actually think Towns is going to completely dominate this series. I think he'll be the Knicks' leading scorer. I think if the Pistons try and guard him with Tobias Harris, good night, game over. Too small, and he'll get killed on the glass as well. I think that's going to be a major area for the Knicks. That's how they punked the Cavs back in the day. The Cavs came in as the bigger team, and the Knicks just offensive rebounded him like crazy. It was Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson at the time, but I think they can big boy him a little bit here. So give me the Knicks in 6.
Knicks in 6 is the picks. I'm with you, Trey. I also have the Knicks in 6. I am excited about this series. I have been saying since it was a possibility that we were going to see these two teams match up that I do think Detroit will steal one, throw it in air quotes, in one of these first 2 games. And then it's like, ooh, we got a real spicy series suddenly. So whether it's game 1 or game 2, I think they take one of those in Madison Square Garden. Maybe it's the big monster Cade game, or one of those wild card guys that hits 7 or 8 threes, and it's 1-1 when we go back to Detroit. But ultimately, I got New York taking care of business. And look, this has been an incredible season already. Regardless if they get swept or win or whatever, Detroit what a year, what a building block with obviously the new coach and these new young guys and Cade like blossoming into an all-NBA player. But ultimately, I think the Knicks are going to be a little too much. So Knicks in 6 for me and Trey. Knicks in 7 for Tass. And what did the people say? They had about 2 out of 3 people picking the Knicks to win the series.
We got 63% Knicks, 36% Pistons.
Okay.
1% abstaining from the vote. See results, I guess.
Yes, okay.